Andre Rollins says sorry, but he's not sorry. DNA supporters demonstrate in Rawson Square. The education minister addresses the Rodney Smith controversy. Plus, students learn fiscal responsibility. We've got those stories and a whole lot more coming up tonight. I'm Juanique Jude, and NB12 starts now. Here at NB12 as we observe Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Topping news tonight, Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins said today he will not publicly apologize to Prime Minister Perry Christie for comments he made on the floor of the House of Assembly. Rollins told reporters Christie is not God and is not exempt from criticism. The former Gaming Board chairman also suggested that the Progressive Liberal Party is demonstrating the attributes of a dictatorship. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins says the entire disciplinary process ordered by PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts has been reduced to a charade and only intended to embarrass and humiliate him in public. And he says simply there will be no public apology to Prime Minister Perry Christie.
But contrary to what some may wish to have happen, there will not be an apology to the Prime Minister.
And it was as clear as that. Rollins says he will not be making that much talked about public apology to the Prime Minister. The Fort Charlotte MP on numerous occasions blasted the Prime Minister, saying there needs to be new political leadership in the country, and even went as far as to criticize Christie's love of quoting Bible scriptures. After a National General Council meeting last week, it was reported that Rollins would issue a public apology to Christie. However, today he said that won't be happening.
And I will not ever take back anything that I said with conviction. I will not take back anything that I said that I meant to say, and I have respectfully indicated to the senior members of the party, the National General Council members, that I could not apologize for something that I meant to say.
Rollins said what he told Christie was not earth-shattering and said for a man who has spent decades in frontline politics, Christie knows better than to take things personally. Now, Rollins did admit that he's not perfect and can be a bit more diplomatic. However, for those who are looking for perfection, he said, they should wait for the second coming.
Now, in addition to all this, the Fort Charlotte MP says that Roberts prejudiced the entire matter by saying that an apology may not be enough.
Rollins also suggested there is no fairness in the disciplinary process, referencing PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts' assertion that a public apology may not be enough. Rollins says he feels this entire process was designed to humiliate him, asserting that Roberts has disrespected him by speaking to him as if he were a child.
He spoke to me like I was a child. He spoke to me as though the young in this party need to sit down, shut up, and understand that their position should be that of a window dressing. Well, how could the public respect politicians when the man responsible for chairing the party shows nothing but disrespect simply because you are a new member, a young member, who he's not yet indicated has said anything that lacks merit? I told the council members that while I could not apologize to the Prime Minister, I could not retract my statements because I cannot. I meant what I said. But what I told them is that if you found my remarks or statements to be offensive, if you were hurt by what I said, and if you thought that I could have said it differently, then to you who are hurt or offended by those statements or by those remarks, I apologize.
Rollins says it's important to get the government on the right track now so that the same thing that happened to the Free National Movement in 2012 doesn't happen to the PLP in 2017. Now, as for other PLP MPs who are afraid to speak up, Rollins says,
don't just sit down. Get out of politics altogether. I have nothing else to say.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, outspoken PLP MP Leslie Miller says while members of political parties should never disrespect their leaders, Rollins should not have to publicly apologize if he stands by his comments.
Rollins indicated that he meant what he said, and if I say something that I mean, I'm going to have grave difficulty in taking back what I said if I really meant it. I think at the same time, one should not be disrespectful to one's leader. The Prime Minister is the leader of my party, and I will never show disrespect for him. You know, and I think you got to weigh all things equal as to what you would wish your political future to be. Is that going to be the Progressive Party or one of the other political entities?
While Rollins has indicated he will not apologize to Christie for declaring that the country needs new leadership, Miller says he does not think Rollins will be thrown out of the party. He also commented on the controversial letter of intent Parliamentary Secretary Renford Wells signed without cabinet approval. Miller called that document worthless.
The document don't mean nothing no. It don't mean the papers it's written on, but that's up to him. I ain't got nobody problems. I got enough problems just looking at y'all. I'm out of here.
More than 100 Democratic National Alliance supporters marched from the General Post Office to Rollins Square this morning to protest what party leaders call the death of democracy. Simone Davis has that story.
Members and supporters of the Democratic National Alliance were seen just outside of the House of Assembly protesting, demanding change. Waving placards that read democracy or hypocrisy, more than 100 Democratic National Alliance supporters demonstrated in Rollins Square against what they called the death of democracy in the Bahamas. Led by DNA leader Branville McCartney and Deputy Leader Chris Mortimer, supporters entered Rollins Square just as Prime Minister Perry Christie walked into the House of Assembly. He was also seen peeking out of the window of the lower chamber at the demonstration downstairs. Several supporters picked up a makeshift coffin chanting, "Democracy is dead." McCartney said the protest is a cry for help on behalf of the Bahamian people.
Our country is dirty. Our country is dirty. It is not good in the Bahamas, and it needs healing. We are here because we want good for this country. We want good governance. We've had a government that has been just totally disrespectful to the Bahamian people, throwing in their face democracy and trampling on it, not living up to what democracy is all about.
McCartney said many things done by the Christie administration would not be acceptable in any other country. He was referring to the gaming bill, which was passed even after the majority of Bahamians voted no in last year's gambling referendum. He said this proves the government is disrespecting democracy and Bahamians should not stay silent.
I have not seen anywhere in this region, in a democratic society, where something like this has happened and the government still remains the government. I've not seen it. And I'm asking the Bahamian people to stand up and do what is right and call them out.
We may all have different views. I have some difference in the way I express my views and other members of Parliament. I believe we should tone down the emotions and the vitriolics and so on and get to substance. But they have the right to express it in the way they express it. That's the whole point of a competition of ideas.
After police officers asked the crowd to turn off the music and move further away from the House of Assembly, they sang their own versions of funeral hymns. DNA supporters say they want a government that will address serious concerns like unemployment, high BEC bills, and the introduction of value-added tax.
I'm here to protest for some change. And they change now, today, not tomorrow, today. Jobs, you can't find no job. You go on a job, they ask for a job, you put in your form. When you come back, the form lost, you gotta make up a new one, you know, tie it.
Many of these people, their lights are off. You know, we talk about equality, the bills they keep back and forth, it's not being put as a priority. So we want to get their attention. We want to say that we are here. We need to hear from you. We need to know that you're working on our behalf, and we are the Bahamian people, and we want to know that we are considered. You say Bahamian first? Then we are the Bahamian. It's our time now. Under the DNA, we'll have an opportunity now to take this country forward. We're not going backwards.
McCartney said another issue the party is protesting for is a Freedom of Information Act, which is what the public deserves after incidents like the signing of the $650 million letter of intent by Renford Wells, which has yet to be addressed.
Always remember that the power The power of the people, the power of the people is always, always, always greater than those people in power. Thank you.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
While he declined to comment on Dr. Rodney Smith's salary demands, Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald is defending the decision to begin salary negotiations with Smith after he was approved by the College Council as COB's next president. Smith has reportedly requested an annual salary of $400,000 and a $100,000 per year increment. Fitzgerald, who is out of the country, said today Cabinet only accepted the recommendation by the Council to appoint Dr. Smith as president. That acceptance came with two conditions. The Council could not negotiate terms prior to receiving approval from Cabinet. Once that was received, I then authorized Council to negotiate subject to certain conditions. Fitzgerald also pointed out to a statement he made in August when he first announced that the College Council had selected Dr. Smith as the next COB president. The Education Minister said at the time, I now therefore authorize the College Council to negotiate reasonable contract terms with Dr. Smith consistent with terms agreed previously with former presidents, taking into consideration the usual cost of living increases. However, the $400,000 Smith is requesting is more than twice the salary of the most recent COB president, Dr. Betsy Vogel-Bowes. Free National Movement MP Hubert Chipman called his salary request excessive and absurd.
I just think the $400,000 is excessive. I really do not put a value on what you should be paid, but here in our environment, and I just have to put it in our environment, when you look at the Bahamas itself, and even try to compare it to the U.S. schools, $355,000 before taxes, and you asking for $400,000, I just think is absurd. I just think it's out of scope.
Chipman says the Christie administration has once again put the cart before the horse, insisting that salary negotiations should have taken place before officials made an announcement.
It can become an embarrassing situation for the government. What happened if Mr. Smith said, okay, well, if you're not prepared to pay whatever I'm asking for, whether that's $400,000 or $300,000, I'm out of here. I think that's a very embarrassing situation for the government to find himself after making the announcement and the public outcry of the reappointment of Mr. Smith to begin with.
The College Council also refused to comment on Smith's salary demand today, but said in a statement this afternoon it is disingenuous for UTEP President Mark Humes to publicly express surprise at the handling of the presidential appointment process when he was intimately involved at every stage. The council said it is alarmed that the UTEP president is so free with confidential information and strongly advised him to adhere strictly to his obligations as a council member. Officials also questioned the union leader's campaigning and public relations on Rodney Smith's behalf, calling it unprecedented and out of the norm.